What's going on, Packers fans? Welcome into an all-new episode of the Pack-A-Day Podcast. I'm your host, Andy Herman. You can follow me on Twitter at Andy Herman NFL. You can find the podcast at Pack-A-Day Podcast. Hope your game day is treating you well. Should be a fun one. Packers, Bengals. Hopefully not too close. Hopefully this is one that Green Bay controls. And yes, keeps their foot on the gas. This is an all gas, no break sort of day. Excited to dive into this one, what Green Bay needs to do, how they can control this game, and obviously everything to keep an eye on. Plus, my final prediction for the game. Let's start, though, with our Habush Rotier injury report for this game. I am recording this afternoon on Saturday. I was trying to wait as long as I could to get any sort of call-ups or any sort of transactions. I have not seen anything as of yet, so don't have anything for you there. However, we do know, based on the final injury report on Friday, that Christian Watson, Devontae Wyatt, and Anthony Belton are all out for this game. Zach Tom, Rasheed Walker, Jacob Monk, Brandon McManus, Nate Hobbs, and Aaron Banks are all questionable. Obviously, it seems like Brandon McManus is going to be good to go. That's going to be an important one, but the offensive line injuries are really the big question mark here. We know Belton's out, but of Zach Tom, Rasheed Walker, Jacob Monk, Aaron Banks, which of those players are able to go? How many players do they call up from the practice squad? Those are all going to be very interesting conversations, and which players can actually play and start in this game on the offensive line for Green Bay is going to be a major talking point. For the Bengals, Shamar Stewart is doubtful. Jamar Chase, Dylan Fairchild, Matt Lee, and Lucas Patrick are all questionable. Fairchild, Lee, and Patrick are all offensive linemen, more depth pieces, while Jamar Chase, their premium player and wide receiver, is out with an illness, or at least is dealing with an illness. I don't want to say out with an illness, but he's dealing with an illness. That's why he's questionable. I'd be pretty stunned if he does not go in this game. But those are the players that you want to keep an eye on as we get inactives an hour and a half before the game, which of those Bengals and which of those Packers are and are not able to play in the game. And as I always say, it's not just if they can play, what percentage are they when they play in the game? If Jamar Chase is violently ill, maybe he's out there, but if he's at 50%, that's a huge advantage for the Packers. And meanwhile, if it's Zach Tom and he goes out there and he's playing, but it's not himself, or he has to go out injured again with that oblique injury, well, then that ends up being a problem as well. So all of these things you have to kind of keep an eye on, not just are they capable of playing, but what level are they actually playing at in the game as well. Now, Habush has 13 office locations conveniently located throughout the state of Wisconsin, including 7 minutes from Lambeau Field and 5 minutes from Camp Randall. When you call Habush, you're going to talk to a lawyer directly. It's easy. Their number is 800-242-2874 or 800-2HABUSH. You can also visit their website at habush.com. Habush Rotier, national reputation, hometown service. Make sure you're checking them out. They're awesome to work with. You're not going to regret it. If you need a personal injury attorney, they are one of one, and make sure that you are going to them and tell them that you found out about them via Pack-A-Day as well. We also have our Luigi's Pizza player to watch in this game. I'm cheating. I'm going with two. I'm going with Carrington Valentine and Keyshawn Nixon, the two corners. We don't know if Nate Hobbs is going to play. If he is, you can include him in this as well. But I think Valentine's going to play a lot in coverage one way or the other. And Keyshawn Nixon clearly going to play a ton, likely on Jamar Chase, but T. Higgins as well. That's the one advantage it really feels like Cincinnati has in this game. Their wide receivers against Green Bay's corners. Through the first 3 weeks of the season, and really through the majority of 2024, these corners were up to the task. This past week or 2 weeks ago against Dallas, they were not. I thought collectively it was the worst game that the collective cornerback group has had in a very long time, probably Philadelphia in week 1 of last year. This has an opportunity to be a bounce back game, but they're going to have to earn it going against Higgins and Chase, two of the best wide receivers. Certainly Chase, arguably the best wide receiver in all of football. And yes, it's Joe Flacco at quarterback. They've got a bad offensive line. You have some advantages there. It almost might make it more likely that Flacco is more likely just to throw it up for grabs and put it up there for Chase or Higgins. And if they do, they can go get it. And sometimes you get these situations where a team rallies around a new quarterback. We saw it with Josh Dobbs going to Minnesota in his first game, and he barely knew the playbook, and the team rallied around him. Sometimes a team is so desperate for a change or some sort of change of pace or a new energy, a new light, a new quarterback, that they play better. And I could see Jamar Chase and T. Higgins taking it upon themselves and saying, hey, we have to go out and help out this new quarterback. He barely knows the system. We've got to figure out a way to be more successful. We got to put this on our shoulders. And if so, Nixon, Valentine, Hobbs, etc., are going to have their work cut out for them. So I'm keeping an extra eye on the cornerbacks in this game. Make sure to get yourself a Luigi's Victory Pizza at your grocer's freezer section. They are delicious and they taste even a little bit better after a Packers victory. So go out, luigispizza.com, and follow them on social media at Luigi's Pizza and enjoy the taste of a wonderful, delicious Luigi's Victory Pizza. All right, with that, let's get into our keys to the game. Of course, the Packers are 14.5 points favorites. Vegas clearly thinks that the Packers are heavy favorites in this game and should run away with it. Whether that happens or not remains to be seen. But here are the 12 things to keep an eye on as we watch this game and help us determine whether or not Green Bay is trending in the right direction for a big win or not. To me, number 1A on this list is the offensive line. We saw against Cleveland. The reason that game was an unmitigated disaster was because Green Bay could not block Cleveland in that game. Now, Myles Garrett is better than Trey Hendrickson, and the Browns' defensive line in totality is much better than the Bengals' defensive line. But if the Packers' offensive line is so poor that they cannot protect Jordan Love and they cannot get Josh Jacobs going, that is your biggest recipe for disaster. And that would be the one way where Cincinnati's able to stay in this. Or just even on a simpler note, even if the TJ Slaytons of the world and the Miles Murphys of the world are shut down, if Trey Hendrickson blows up this game himself, has a couple big sacks and key moments, maybe forces a fumble and a fumble recovery, that could swing this game in a major way. I don't have a ton of faith or trust in the collective group of the Packers offensive line, primarily due to injuries, but also just because it's been a struggle so far. And yes, they look better against Dallas. Dallas's defensive line is pretty abysmal. I'm not putting a ton of stock into that. To be fair, they looked much better against Detroit. They looked much better against Washington. And we're kind of basing this primarily off of one really bad game against a really good defensive line in Cleveland. Still, the offensive line, of all the things on this team that could potentially give me cause for concern, that is number one, especially when we don't know if Rasheed Walker, Aaron Banks, Zach Tom, etc. are going to play. Anthony Belton is out. What is this line going to look like? You could end up in a world, if the injuries really hit in the wrong way, where this is Jordan Morgan, Donovan Jennings, Elton Jenkins, Sean Ryan, and Darian Kennard. I don't have a ton of faith in that offensive line. So this offensive line needs to be better. They need to start generating opportunities for Josh Jacobs in this run game, and they have to give Jordan Love time. Because if Jordan Love gets time, he has been basically an assassin so far. So to me, if the offensive line is protecting well, if they're getting opportunities for Josh Jacobs, if they're not getting dominated by Trey Hendrickson, and they're winning the line of scrimmage, done, over with, it's going to take something extremely catastrophic for Green Bay to lose this game. It's as simple as that. So start in the trenches. I think Green Bay can hold their own. I don't think it's going to be catastrophic, and that should be good enough as is. But if you're watching this game early and Cincinnati's defensive line is just flat out beating up Green Bay's offensive line, that's where you could start looking at and saying, all right, we might have some problems here. Number two, it's the clear and obvious one. It's going to be on here almost every single week, but it's a little bit emphasized this week because it's time for this Green Bay defense to start generating turnovers. I'll say the same thing that I said against Cleveland. If Green Bay wins the turnover battle, this game is probably just over. Against Cleveland, they didn't. You might look at it and say, well, it was even, so that the Green Bay still should have won. Well, it was even, but look at the two turnovers. The turnover for Green Bay was Xavier McKinney's interception before halftime. That was a nothing burger. It meant nothing. It basically would have been better if he knocked it away. And it amounted to, like, it didn't take any points off the board and it gave them no opportunity to score. It was basically a punt, is basically what it was. All right. So it gave you nothing. Meanwhile, Jordan Love's interception was a completely game-changing interception that gave Cleveland the ball first and goal on the 5-yard line to tie the game. Those are two totally different turnovers. Not all turnovers are created equal. But it does feel in this game, if Cincinnati wants to have a chance, that they're going to have to win the turnover battle. And more than anything, if Green Bay actually wins the turnover battle, not some stupid arm punt before halftime, but a real legitimate turnover, they win that battle, they're going to win this game. So it is time for this defense to start generating those. And if you want, those easier victories against bad teams, right? The easiest way to do so is just by dictating the turnovers. And if Green Bay can force their turnovers and they can take care of the ball themselves, which they've done a good job of, they've only turned the ball twice on the season. And unfortunately, they've only generated 2 turnovers, so they're even. But if the defense can start generating those, the offense can take care of the ball. This should be the way that you get to one of those 17 or 21-point victories against the Bengals. But if it's not, if they don't generate those turnovers, or more importantly, if they have turnovers on their own, all bets are off. It completely changes the game. So Obviously, again, goes without saying every single week, turnovers are the number one indicator if you're going to win or lose, but that's the way that you could get into trouble in this game, and or it's the way that you could actually take advantage and maybe cover that 14.5 spread if you're generating multiple turnovers against a bad Bengals offense. Number 3, we talked about already with our Luigi's Pizzas player to watch, but it's the Packers corners. They have to be good enough against Chase and Higgins. As we talked about, that is the number 1A thing that Cincinnati has going for them in this game. If you're Zach Taylor, you're looking at it and saying, hey, we have an advantage on the outsides. We can win with Higgins. We can win with Chase. We just got to give Joe Flacco enough time. And we got to give him the opportunity to get him, the opportunity to throw down the field, right? And let those wide receivers win. If the offensive line can't protect, if Flacco's not good enough to get the ball down the field, meaning just, learning the new offense and everything like that, well, then it's going to be a problem. But I expect Chase and Higgins to win on their routes. I expect them to get open in this game. And it's more of just a race. Can Micah Parsons, LVN, etc., get to the quarterback before Flacco has the time to deliver the ball down the field? But it's more than just that too. And why I put this on the corners is we saw that George Pickens play, right? Where Pickens gets the ball along the sideline. Not a huge deal. It's probably like a 15-yard, maybe 20-yard pickup if you get him down at that spot. Instead, Valentine overruns the play. Pickens cuts back inside, gets an explosive touchdown, and that's a totally different thing. So Chase and Higgins are going to get theirs from time to time. You got to make sure you're getting them to the ground immediately, and that these 10 to 12 to 15-yard plays aren't becoming 25 to 30 to 40 to 80-yard plays. That's the difference here. So I really need to see these corners not only being good in coverage, but being good to make sure that those are not huge run after the catch plays and you're immediately getting them to the ground. Huge day for the Packers cornerbacks, specifically Keyshawn Nixon and Carrington Valentine. Number 4 goes hand in hand with number 3. How much pressure can you get on Joe Flacco? Mike has been amazing. LVN's been better, but you have no Devontae Wyatt. And here's the other thing. I need Rashawn Gary to make a little bit more of an impact. Mike is taking all of the double and triple teams, right? Rashawn Gary is getting a lot of one-on-ones, and there's no offensive tackle in this game for Cincy that should shut him down. He should be able to generate pressure. To me, this is a very big Rashawn Gary game. And I still expect Micah to have a good game. I think LVN will hold his own. I don't know what to expect from the defensive tackle rotation and how much pressure they're going to be able to get. But Rashawn Gary's the one that's going to get those one-on-one matchups, and he needs to be a bully, and he needs to get to Joe Flacco. I cannot see Joe Flacco sitting in the pocket with time to throw to Higgins and Chase in this game. That is a recipe for, I don't want to say disaster, but that's how Cincinnati can stay in this game. So Rashawn Gary, need a big game from him, and I need to see this pressure package for Green Bay make it so that Joe Flacco never feels comfortable, similar to how he was in Cleveland. And he had a really bad day that day in Cleveland against Green Bay. Yes, they won, but he was not the reason why. It was their defenses and special teams performances, which really led to that victory. If Green Bay can shut down Flacco in this game, similar to what they did against Cleveland, to get a ton of pressure on him, they should be good to go. And that's, again, a recipe for Green Bay having a very good afternoon against this Bengals offense. Hey, Packers fans, it's time to get our sleeper picks in for Monday Night Football in Week 6. Bears, Commanders. This should be a fun one. We get to hate watch the Bears and hope they lose and everything like that, which should be really, really fun. But I'm going very quarterback heavy in this one. I'm going Caleb Williams, fewer than 230.5 passing yards, but more than 24.5 rushing yards. I think he's going to scramble a lot in this game. I think he's going to get to those rushing yards, but I think he'll fall short on the passing yards. Meanwhile, Jaden Daniels, the exact opposite. I expect him to be able to throw the ball in this one for more than 215.5 passing yards. Meanwhile, I think the Bears will really try to basically keep him in the pocket and make sure he cannot win with his legs. So I'm going fewer than 43.5 rushing yards. There's a lot of reasons I love sleeper, but look at this one. You can see the contest here, a $5 entry with the opportunity to win $66.23. I'm using one of their profit boosts, which they are awesome at doing, providing you with these extra bonuses and promotions, which makes it really, really fun, and it enhances your opportunities when it comes to winnings. Also, right now, but you can get a 100% match on Sleeper by utilizing code PACKADAY up to $100. Again, a 100% match up to $100 by utilizing code PACKADAY. And you can get a free $20 entry, and you don't even need to make a deposit on it. So a free $20 entry with no deposit necessary. A ton of awesome promos over on Sleeper. Make sure you're checking it out. Terms and conditions apply. You can find those on Sleeper, available in over 25 states. Check it out. What the heck are you waiting for? Number 5 is what can Green Bay generate in the run game? Josh Jacobs hasn't had that performance yet where it just felt like, hey, just keep feeding that guy. Give him the ball and good things are going to happen. And that to me is not on Josh Jacobs. That's on the offensive line, which we talked about already. But this is not a good Bengals defensive front. They're not great against the run. You should have the ability to run the football. And to me, if you can get that run game going and just make yourself multiple on offense, man, does that make everything easier. Play action works a little bit better. Jordan Love is going to probably have a little bit more time to throw and a little bit more open windows because you're going to be throwing off a play action. So get Josh Jacobs going, not just to help the run game, but to keep you balanced, to keep the passing game unpredictable, and to make it so that you have a lot of opportunities for maybe some of those shot plays down the field as well. And more than anything, if you get Josh Jacobs going in the right way, he can just carry you to victory too. You don't even need to have Jordan Love do a lot of heavy lifting. So if Jacobs can get going and this Packers offense looks, dangerous in all aspects, I know they just put up 40 against Dallas, but that's a great way to put up a ton of points. And there's just no way that Flacco and company can stay if you're putting that type of point production up. They just can't hang with that. So hopefully Josh Jacobs can get going. They can run clock, take some responsibility out of the defense's hands where they have to be on the field all the time, control time of possession, and make this just a game where Green Bay's dominating with all the intangible things, right? Like time of possession, turnovers, all those sort of things. But Jacobs having a good game can go a long way in making this offense more multiple and making them have a little bit more of a ball control offense. Number 6 is Brandon McManus. How beat up is he? How much of a problem is this? Is he even going to kick in this game? So I guess the field goal kicking game in general. And, with that injury, is there a limit to how far he can kick? Is he only going to be 45 and in? Are you comfortable having him kick a 58-yard field goal in this game? I think those are all questions that are going to need to be answered. Green Bay can not have another catastrophic issue on field goal and extra points. They had a field goal block in their week 3 game. They had an extra point blocked in their week 4 game. You cannot come back and have another issue here where McManus can't make kicks or your backup kicker can't make kicks or whatever that thing might be. You need him to be relied upon in this game, and he's got to make his kicks, and you cannot have block issues as well. So that's a big thing here. You want to make sure that the field goal unit is up to par and not leaving points on the field. That's, again, a great way to keep Cincinnati in the game. Number 7, we're sticking with special teams, is the punt return game. This is the one that I have a lot of concern over. I've said it before. I don't think they have a true punt returner on the team. I don't know if you need to just put Keyshawn Nixon back there and say, hey, I don't need you to do anything. Just fair catch that thing. It's not, you're leaving yards on the field, but it's almost better. But I have real fear, just like Justice Mosqueda talked about. If Matthew Golden keeps letting these punts bounce, you're asking for it to bounce off of a Packer and something really bad to happen. You can't have it happen. Cannot have a huge turnover because you failed to catch a punt. Just can't happen. So I have fear about this punt return team. I mean, it'd be even better if they could actually generate something on a big punt return that went to the house or something like that. That's probably way too much to ask, but I'm keeping a very strong eye on this punt return game because I very much fear for what happens because I don't have any real level of confidence with anybody that goes back there to return punts. And if that's the case, that always gives you a little bit of hesitation and trepidation and fear of what could happen next anytime that there's a punt for Cincinnati. Number 8, going to be watching Carl Brooks and Colby Wooden. No Devontae Wyatt in this game, and those two are going to be asked to take on the lion's share of the load. Now, we'll see some of Brinson and Stackhouse as well. Brinson will make his NFL debut. Stackhouse is probably going to be, in that 15 to 20 snap range. It's a big opportunity for two rookies. They're the number 3 and number 4 defensive tackles. They're going to need to hold up, but this is Wooden and Brooks as the primary defensive tackles in this game. Wooden's been really good, but with more snaps, you can get a little bit more worn down. And Brooks has been up and down. This is a huge opportunity for him. He gets to start. He gets to be Devontae Wyatt this week against a bad Bengals offensive line. If he can get some wins, get some pressure, hold up at the point of attack, that's going to be a huge win for the Packers without Devontae Wyatt if Brooks can play the way that he needs to and the way that everyone wants him to in this game. Number 9, how much is the home field advantage an advantage for Green Bay in this game? Part of this is a crowd thing, but if you don't have to obviously go with the silent count, which they shouldn't, they're at home, right? That's going to help. It's not a surprise to me that they've been great in 2 weeks at home against Detroit and Washington, and they're 2-0. It's the road that's given them trouble. 0-1 on the road, 2-0 at home. I think Green Bay, with it being a home game, completely takes advantage of that and runs through Cincinnati in this game. But some of the things that can happen in those situations where you're heavy favorites is if Cincinnati is hanging around early, or you make a mistake early, or your offense isn't clicking or whatever, you go from a crowd that's amped up and excited to kind of frustrated very fast, where it takes them more to get into the game. Like, you have to kind of earn their their loudness and their excitement. And if things start going bad, it can almost kind of turn on you a little bit, where now like the crowd is anxious, and maybe the offense is going 3-and-out, and there's maybe some booze in there, and it can kind of prey on you a little bit too. So if they can get off to a hot start, the crowd should take over. It's going to make things very difficult for Joe Flacco, who may or may not even know all the checks in the offense and things like that. And if the crowd is not, well, again, that's going to make things a lot simpler. So really interested to see what the home field advantage brings for the Packers in this game. Number 10, feel like this has to be a Tucker Kraft game. He's way too good. He's way too talented. And you have to make it a focus to get him the ball. I know Jason Wilde got called out a little bit of like, he's asking every week, how can you get this player the ball more? This is a Tucker Kraft game. I trust him after the catch. I trust him with the ball in his hands. And to me, if he can go out and have a huge game, you're really putting yourself in a position to be successful. Get him the ball in the red zone, make him a big time target. I want to see like 8 targets, whether it's at tight end screens or up the seam or check downs. I don't care, but I want to see about 8 targets for Tucker Kraft in this game. Number 11, Green Bay has to have better tackling than they did against Dallas. I don't think it was quite as catastrophic as some may make you believe, but it wasn't good enough. And if you're looking for ways, again, where things could go awry, hopefully you're not. Hopefully we're just staying optimistic here. But poor tackling and allowing guys like Chase and Higgins and their playmakers, Gesicki, etc., opportunities to run after the catch is a great way to do that. Tackle, rally to the football, play with that energy and intensity that you did against Detroit and against Washington. And if that's the case, again, Green Bay is going to be in a great spot. Fail to tackle the way that you need to, and Cincinnati's going to get more opportunities, more first downs, more first and goal type situations. And that's going to lead to point production for the Bengals. And it's going to keep your defense on the field and your offense on the sidelines, which is exactly what you don't want. So rally to the football, make those tackles. Yes, you want to go for the punch outs, but make sure that player is wrapped up first and has the opportunity, or doesn't have the opportunity to get those yards after contact, because again, it can have the opportunity to be a real killer in this game. The number 12, the last thing here, is which team is generating more explosives. Chase and Higgins, as we talked about, 2 big-time wide receivers. If Flacco's slinging it down the field and they're coming up with big plays, that's a problem. Meanwhile, if Golden and Dobbs and Wicks and the playmakers on Green Bay are getting the explosives the way that their offense is sort of set up to do, that's going to be a problem for Cincinnati. And I don't think Cincinnati's corners and safeties can stop that all game long. I think Green Bay will generate explosives, but the team that generates more is obviously going to be in the situation where they're getting better point production, right? It's a lot quicker and easier pathway to get there when you're not having to put those long ass drives together. So get those explosive plays, and the team that does a better job of that probably set up better for success in this one. So those are my 12. Those are what I'm keeping an eye on in this game. How good can the Packers offensive line be, and who's healthy in this one? Can they start generating some turnovers? How can the Packers corners match up against Jamar Chase and T. Higgins? Can they hold their own? Can you get pressure on Joe Flacco? Can you establish the run game? Is Brandon McManus in the kicking game going to be okay? Can you not do something stupid on the punt return team? Can Carl Brooks and Colby Wooden hold up at defensive tackle and have big games individually? How much does that home field advantage play a part in this game? And can the crowd get into it? And can you keep them into it? Can Tucker Kraft get involved? I want to see 8-9 targets for him. Can you tackle better this week than you did against Dallas? And can you generate those explosive plays and make sure that Higgins and Chase are not getting their explosive plays on their end? My prediction for this game, Packers 27, Bengals 13. Excited for it. It's one of those ones that make you a little bit nervous because, again, it feels like nothing good can happen. Hopefully Green Bay just gets an easy win, doesn't get any new injuries. They could really use a week where they maybe just get healthy rather than having some more injuries pop up. But 27-13, Packers, just a little bit under that 14.5-point spread. But I don't think it's ever really in doubt. Maybe 20-13 at some point, but Green Bay ultimately puts it away, and Cincinnati never really gets close in this game. There will be live pre and post game shows. I will be at the game personally, so I will not be doing the pre or post game show. Dan Kotnick and Camille Davis will be doing your pregame show live on the YouTube channel, and the postgame show live will be with Ross Uglum over on YouTube as well. So we got you covered. Make sure to check those out. Other week 6 games to keep an eye on: 49ers, Buccaneers, a battle of 2 4-1 teams. That game will be taking place at the same time as Green Bay. So just kind of keep an eye on that score. That's a big one. Lions at Chiefs on Sunday Night Football, and then Bears at Commanders on Monday Night Football. Should be a fun slate of action, everyone. Enjoy your Sunday football. Enjoy this Packers game. Again, we only get so many of these, so enjoy the hell out of it. Enjoy that victory pizza, hopefully afterwards, from Luigi's Pizza. And I will be back here tomorrow breaking down everything that happened in Packers Bengals. Of course, again, pregame show with Dan and Camille, postgame show with Ross Uglum. Make sure you're checking those out as well. Shout out to Alchemy Wealth Management for sponsoring today's show. RetireWithRyan.net. Get your future in order. Get that retirement set up. Again, Alchemy Wealth Management, RetireWithRyan.net. A free consultation is waiting for you. Great week to set that up. Now is the time. Again, retirewithryan.net. And also a final shout out to our All-Pro and Hall of Fame members: PJ Wynn, John Wild, Brandon Paletta, Boom Handle, Donald Lee, Lori Lord, Baby QB, David McCluskey, Donald Decker, Alex Wong, Peter Ataka, Jay Zimmerman, B. Brown, Puerto Rican Packer, Dan Gassford, SoCal Pack, Chris Rager, Izzy Roberts, Ian Ewing, Carlo Delgado, Willie Winklesinkel, Jen Wright, The Gable Storm, Pack Attack Cast, Chris Weish, Craig, John D. Metropolis, Hayden Radomski, Devin Lane, Gunzusa, Alexander Newell, Dan Miller, Bill Reinhart, and Richard Morales. See you guys soon. But until next time, and as always, and especially today, go Pack Go.